Hello guys and welcome to my Assassination Rogue video. My name is Squiggle and I'm going to be talking to you guys about what's making Assassination tick right now in Antorus the Burning Throne. Now, it's actually quite funny why this spec has been getting pretty strong. The 4 set is really good. I'm finding after getting the 4 set that my energy regen is just amazing and it makes it a lot more fun and interactive to play. However, there's some things that aren't working as intended on Blizzard's behalf that I'm going to go over today in the video, so stay tuned. Now, the first one that I'm going to go over today is that people are using Fan of Knives, especially with the artifact trait Poisoned Knives, and they're using this instead of Mutilate in their general rotation. Now, they're using Mutilate still for the opener, just because per cast Mutilate probably still does a little more damage, but as long as they're in their conserve phase and they're not capping on energy, they're going to be spamming that Fan of Knives, Fan of Knives, Fan of Knives. Of course, you can see that this gets even stronger if you get to AoE situations, so 90% of the time you're just going to be spamming this Fan of Knives regardless. The second exploit that I wanted to get into today was that there is a bug with Night Stalker and Poisoned Knife, which is generally something that we only use at range or to apply our poisons at weird times. Like if you've got a rupture on a ranged target and you want to keep your poison on it, you use this ability. However, what we're seeing in logs is people using the poison knife straight out of stealth, which keeps their Night Stalker buff going for a lot longer, which obviously isn't intended. Now, this is something that's most likely gonna change. Both of these things really shouldn't be happening, so don't dump all your eggs in one basket. If these exploits aren't something that you want to use, then I'm gonna go over the general mutilate rotation regardless. So if you want to play the currently broken but not working properly build, or if you want to play the proper way or as Blizzard intended, I'll go over that as well. So it's up to you guys what you want to do. So for legendaries, we have three really strong ones depending on what tier pieces that you have. Now, generally, most people are going to use Mantle and Wrists, the Zoldyck family training shackles, because this allows you to have predictable CP gain in your opener and in your Vanish windows. Now, as you may know, if you get a crit with an ability as an Assassination Rogue, you gain extra combo points. Now, what this means is in your opener, you can get a guaranteed amount of combo points every single time. Whereas there are actually people running the second build I'm going to go over today, which is using the boots, the wrists, and even perhaps the 2 set 4 set. So the old 2 set and the new 4 set. Now, I don't have great pieces for shoulder for either set bonus, so I'm just going to be doing the new 4 set, but what I'm going to say is the old 2 set and the new 4 set might be slightly better. It's much of a muchness, you don't need it too much. Now, the reason people are using this build is because as the expansion goes on, we're going to be getting more mastery and more crit at times. And for this build, if you have a lot of crit and a lot of mastery, you don't need the shoulders as much, and the boots start to maybe outweigh the shoulders. They do give a little bit more RNG as you don't have the guaranteed CP gain in your Vanish window, but it just depends what you like to play at the end of the day. And it brings your Kingsbane and your Vendetta together a little bit, which is worth noting as well. For our stat priority with the shoulders, we're going to want the mastery over agility, over versatility, over crit, over haste. Now, the reason for this is crit is slightly devalued when you have the shoulders, and they're not needed as much, so it's better to just have versatility to make use of your Vanish burst window. Now, if you're running the boots and the braces, I recommend running crit after agility just because it allows you to smooth out your rotation a bit, increase your CP gain, and overall increase your DPS more than what versatility would. Now, I want to emphasize that for both of these builds, especially if you're running the poison knives, mastery is huge. Like, you can see people in some of the top logs, they're running double mastery stat stick. Now, because of the way our poisons work, it just does way too much damage right now. And if you can get your hands on some high mastery stat sticks, these might even be best for you over stuff like Gorgoneth and Eye of Command. So for your relics, you want to be running Master Alchemist and Master Assassin regardless of the build that you're playing. Now, Master Assassin, you only want one relic slot for this, just because the DR on it makes it slightly less valued the lower you go down. However, Master Assassin, if you can get three of these, by all means, it's gonna fit you well. Now, if you're wanting to run the Fan of Knives build, you're going to want to go with poison knives as your primary trait. You're going to probably want three poison knives and three master alchemist in your weapon. Now, the only disclaimer about this trait is possibly going to get nerfed. So you don't want to go, oh, I got a 985 relic. I'm going to chuck in the poison knife trait and it's going to last me the rest of the expansion. If this gets nerfed, it's going to be a huge mistake to do that. So do this at your own peril, right? For trinkets, of course, there's going to be a lot of Titan forging in the game, so it's hard to say what is going to be your guaranteed best trinket. However, I can say as the expansion goes on, more people get Gorgoneths and the rest of the Pantheon buffs, you want to be running Gorgoneths at all times. Now, if you've been doing it every single week, yours should be about 960. Once it gets to 1k eye level, it's probably going to dwarf everything. Now, after this, you're going to want either Mastery Stat Stick or you're going to want the Eye of Command trinket. Now, everyone has been frantically farming for the Eye of Command simply because some of the raid trinkets just aren't that good. However, if you want to do some sims, you can easily see what's going to be good for you and just put a bit of logic into your sims as well. For example, this Shadow Scourge Wing that I'm using here, it's not going to do as much damage as intended on a lot of fights. For talents, I recommend running Master Poisoner, Night Stalker, Vigor, Toxic Blade, and Venom Rush. Of course, the other two are just personal preference. I normally just go with Cheat Death and Thuggy. Now, this build is going to just generate the maximum damage potential that you want. It's going to make use of Night Stalker, which, as I said before, is slightly bugged. And you're going to want your Venom Rush and your Toxic Blade for obvious reasons. Now, Venomous Rush gives insane energy regen when coupled with the new floor set, so it's going to make you play just so much faster and keep the rotation a little bit more interesting. For our opener with the shoulders, we're going to open up with a Garrote, into a Mutilate, into a Rupture, into a Vendetta, into a Toxic Blade, into a Kingsbane. And then as soon as we've done that, we're going to want to Vanish, into Envenom, and just spam it, Mutilate and Envenom. As soon as we get out of this Vanish window, we want to start using our Fan of Knives. Now, this is the Fan of Knives opening build. And if you just want to use your Mutilate instead of Fan of Knivesing, be my guest. So like I said before, open with Garrote into our bleeds, into the Toxic Blade, and then we're just going to do our second stealth window. And as you can see, you get two buffed Envenoms, and then you start going into the Fan of Knivesing. Now we're going to wait for this to wear off before applying a new one, just because of the Night Stalker buff. We're going to get another Envenom into our Vendetta window, and we're going to reapply our Rupture. Now, Rupture doesn't do as much damage as it used to in Nighthold, so this isn't too important. Then we're going to pull a little bit, get our next Kingsbane, and as soon as we get to 9 seconds, we're going to use our Toxic Blade. So now I'm going to go over the non-bugged version of the opener without shoulders. Now, we're going to do the same sort of thing. We're going to be opening with a garrote into a mutilate, into a rupture. However, after that, we're going to do our Vendetta, Toxic Blade, and Kingsbane in a little bit of a different order. So we're going to use our Vendetta into Kingsbane, into another mutilate, into a Vanish rupture, and then when our Kingsbane is on a 9-second timer, we're just going to use our Toxic Blade and we're going to just spam the shit out of Fan of Knives like before. Now, remember when doing this, make sure not to cleave the other things as it makes your damage look a little bit different. So for the bugged opener, we're going to be opening with Poison Knife into Garrote into Rupture, and then we're just going to go on with our rotation after we use our Vendetta and another Poison Knife to increase the duration of this window. Now for this, of course, I'm going to be using Fan of Knives just as prior. Of course, waiting for our Garrote to fall off. And remember that all of these ruptures and garrotes that you do in this window are going to be pandemicked, so you want to be keeping them going as long as possible. So for our general rotation, we want to be using our Fan of Knives to 5 combo points all the time, and we want to be using our Mutilate to 5 combo points every time. Now, what we want to do, if you want to be running the Mutilate build mostly, and you get to say 4 combo points, you can even chuck in a cheeky Fan of Knives before doing your Rupture or your Envenom. It doesn't really matter too much. Now, the main thing that is going to change the good rogues from the great is going to be your timing on your Kingsbane and your Toxic Blade. Now, inside the 100% crit buff window, you simply want to be using your Toxic Blade into your Kingsbane just because you get the 100% crit on both of the initial effects. Now, during the rest of your rotation, however, you're going to want to be using your Kingsbane about 5 seconds before you use your Toxic Blade so that you can do more damage at the end of your Kingsbane and make sure that you have Envenom uptime really high, especially during the start of this window. Now I'll just show you really quickly. Say we start off with something like this. We want to be using our Kingsbane, spamming the fan, into an Envenom, into a Toxic Blade. Now, this Envenom is going to make our Kingsbane just be doing so much more damage at the end of the cast. So make sure before you use your Kingsbane, you reapply your Rupture, you reapply your Garrote, and you maybe prepare yourself an Envenom or 4 combo points. Now, what this is going to allow you to do is you jam your Kingsbane, and then you go straight into an Envenom, get that stacking up really nice and fast. Now, you'll get the hang of this over the time, and if you read the abilities a little bit, you'll probably understand why it's meant to be this way. Now, two smaller rotational things that I'm going to get over include the second Vanish, what you line it up with, and how you're meant to do the execute phase. Now, when your second Vanish comes up, of course, you're going to want to tie it in with as many things as possible. Now, sometimes you won't get your Kingsbane and your Toxic Blade up at the same time as it, so you want to just wait. You want to use your Vendetta, Kingsbane, and your Toxic Blade around your Vanish window just to make sure that you're using the 100% buff. And on top of this, you want to be using this in the execute phase once. Now, this is going to tie in with your second potion, And with your wrists below 30%, this is going to make you do some obscene damage. And this is another thing which is going to really push you over the top compared to other rogues of your bracket. Thanks for watching, guys, and sorry if this video was a little bit complicated. I know if you guys are starting off to playing Assassination Rogue, this video can be a little bit daunting, and the general opener and rotation for the Mutilate build is so much easier than worrying about all these bugs and poison knives. This video is to try to help you guys get to a really high pass percentile, but if you don't want to get that in depth with your class, just ask me in the comments and I'll be able to simplify it a little bit as I haven't really done in this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.